What do we... What's happening? Such power. It can't be. It's people.
Metaphor ReFantazio, a game that takes the chains off the fantasy genre and pushes it to its limit with its world building, characters, and overarching background narrative that leaves a literal, metaphorical sense of mystery. It's like if you brought the Final Fantasy story with all of its political narratives and VIII the Persona formula and added a bit of Esperanto as the seasoning throughout the whole game. This fusion becomes its own thing. Fantazio. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm here to talk about the game that should have won Game of the Year for me, but I didn't finish in time because this game's long as shit. In my 135 hours of runtime, I'm not joking, it was like 135 hours, but you're also keying in my grinding time and side content and everything, so it's actually about 99 to 110 hours. To start it off, Atlus did it again by putting twist on the turn-based genre, making this a very strategic and rewarding battle system to smart players. But if you want to breeze through the game, you can always auto-battle your way to victory with a milk bottle in your hand.
Time marches on, and the age of a new king draws nearer.
The opening starts with Griffith assassinating the current king in his sleep. This cunning assassin is none other than Luis, our peak antagonist for the story. Every time he's on screen, he steals the show. To start out the story, you are Makoto from Persona 3, but isekai'd into a fantastical world. Jokes aside, the world is overridden with anxiety and despair due to the prominent racism towards the many fleshed out races and tribes that are present in the entire game. Your goal is to stop racism, and it couldn't have dropped at a better time during this election. Your goal as a Spec Ops agent with your pet Tinkerbell is to put an end to the curse of the Hermit Purple that was placed among your best friend, the Prince, who is proclaimed dead. This curse was placed by none other than Luis himself. With the king's assassination, this calls for him to use Meteor, like Sephiroth. Literally, it's a rock. But instead of crashing down, he... The king issues an election, or more like a popularity contest because anyone can join the ranks. This popularity contest is your drive to get close to Luis so you can save your royal hiney. So you entertain the idea and join the election as the only Elda, who is the bottom of the barrel race of all the races in this world. Kinda getting Attack on Titan vibes now. They are literally lower on the hierarchy than the goose doo-doo you step on while on a run shirtless in 30-degree weather. Everybody hates you, but that doesn't stop your perseverance. Just like when Kendrick got 13,000 people to sing A minor, and Drake's only response was to put on the hardest fit of all time. Even though it's pretty fucking petty. During your downtime, you and your pet Tinkerbell decide to read the book you've been carrying along with you. This book paints a picture of a utopia where none of this hate and discrimination exist. Inspired by this book, your overall goal is to put an end to racism and discrimination in this world, to start your climb towards building this utopia, which is actually set in our present world. Which, of course, doesn't exist in our world. You know, it definitely doesn't exist in our world. The journey is a long one. Throughout this adventure, you will meet many comrades, such as Straw, a noble climber who has an unbreakable resolve to protect the people. He's more than your typical goofy best friend. He's very serious and always has his goals in mind with a strong sense of confidence. Or Hulkenberg, a beautiful knight from the royal capital who hails from the ReFantazio tribe, who was there the night the prince was cursed. She is a prideful knight who stays true to her code. Take a shot every time I said knight in that 5 seconds. There's much more, but I can't spoil them because I was genuinely surprised by all of the party members, besides the ones that are in the beginning. Throughout the journey, you actually share the book of your comrades, and they want to make that dream come true. And each of them give their own little nuances on what a perfect world would be without this discrimination and war. As the election passes, you will gain followers or connections, if you will, of people around the world such as Maria, the sweetest kid in the world who lost an important figure in her life, and a kid who's never touched grass. Or Brigitte, a batty-winged angel, a part of the Rohag tribe, and a somewhat twisted merchant of igniters. But she gives you discounts, and she has a soft heart once you get to know what she's been through. Barden, a struggling governor in training, who hails from the ReFantazio tribe, who wants to help the people to accept him as a leader. There's a lot more, but I won't spoil them till later. And in this game, you actually don't have to get the rank 10 on your max confidant, you just have to get to 8, which is a nice change, and every single rank gives you a reward or a reason to rank them up instead of every 2 to 3 ranks like in the Persona games. And I will say, I was genuinely surprised by how dark some of these can get. The fantasy setting automatically makes this series more dark than Persona, which makes no sense that none of these are on the ESRB rating, just violence. Throughout your travels on the Gauntlet Runner, you will find these cool wonders of the world that can range from a giant dune worm shell to a giant pink atom tree. This game has a lot of One Piece parallels. With these sites, you'll be granted a drawing that you can show Maria, remember the girl that hasn't touched grass? And I love these things because it makes the world feel really big. With how long this game is, the journey really feels authentic. Throughout the year cycle, it took me about 2.5 months to beat this game. With a 130-hour runtime, mind you I did do a lot of side content and grinded some, it really feels like you've been playing the game for about a year. And I was absolutely locked the fuck in some of these story moments, on the edge of my seat, and I really didn't know what to expect. I had some predictions throughout the beats, and I was nowhere near right most of the time. Very unpredictable plot that left me engaged to the very end. One negative I will say is the pacing at the end felt insanely slow if you think about the calendar system at the time. I'll go into more details in the spoilers. We are greeted with Moore, a mysterious character who gives us a Velvet Room type experience. Similar to the Persona system, but more like jobs from Final Fantasy. You are granted these archetypes, which are your personas for this game, except it's all new designs. Goodbye, SMT designs. This archetype system allows you to select different classes, and these classes come with each of their own skills it specializes in. For instance, if you want to use magic, learn the mage or wizard archetype. If you want to fist your enemies, use the brawler archetype. When you learn these skills, you can put them on different archetypes. You can put up to 3 on each archetype. Let's say you want to be a brawler with a healing ability. You can take the Dia ability from the Seeker class and put it on the brawler, with a cost of course. This is a magic currency known as mag, and you'll need a shit ton of it, especially if you want to be an idiot and get every single archetype for the MC. I'm not doing this 4 more times. Because there's a great upgrade. While your party members have their own archetype that fits them the most, you can actually have them learn any of the archetypes that you have as well. So you can get really creative with your tactics, and I think this should be more of an evolution for the Persona system as well, to keep party member classes from being stale. The turn-based system is quite interesting. You have these spike balls on the top of your screen, and they can either disappear or get one size smaller. When you hit a weakness or pass your turn, it gets smaller. Since there's no baton pass or one more, the turn spike just gets smaller and the next ally in order goes. It allows for some interesting strategies, to say the least. You really have to plan how you attack, buff, heal, or defend. You start out with 4. If you have 4 party members, The turn decreases depending on how many party members you have that aren't kissing the ground. 3 turns if there's 3 party members, and so on, which you will only have 3 members for a good bit. If your team is wiped and there's only 1 left standing, good fucking luck, but it's exhilarating when you pull off that reversal. If you're playing on hard, enemies will have 1 extra turn. By the way, the same mechanics apply for the enemies, so try not to get your weaknesses struck. Lastly, if you dodge, reflect, absorb, null, or miss an enemy, it takes 2 turns away, which led to me increasing my agility. There's also overworld combat, which has a simple lunge attack and a normal attack, and a dodge to defeat weak enemies, or get an ambush on an enemy. This becomes crucial when you run into some really tough mobs. Almost forgot about the synthesis attacks, which are basically dual attacks you can do with your party members, or triple attacks that you can do with your party members, and it all depends on what archetypes you have. These powerful ultimates consume 2 of your spike balls, so be careful how you use it. There's also a stat system, which your party members just level up like 2 skills that they're really good at, but you can pick the stats for your main character, though be careful because you cannot reverse it, so pick 2 and just go with it. I did agility and power to get my percentage chance of dodging an attack up, which saved my ass countless of times. I really like this battle system. It punishes you for being stupid, but it rewards you for strategizing well. Throughout the deadlines like Persona, you will tackle on big main dungeons for the story. These are the bulk of the gameplay because some of them you will be spending a lot of time in, especially if you want to do it all in one day. They are a mix of some of the elements of Persona 5 Spectacle and puzzles, and a mix of just normal dungeons, but not classic dungeons. Big difference is you can fight the boss of the dungeon on the same day you clear it, not have to wait for the moon to get hard or a death threat to be sent. There are a ton of mini dungeons that are offered as side content, which are not required, but I really recommend it if you want to get through the game's battles. Unless you are playing on easy or safe, at that point just watch the story. The mini dungeons are pretty well designed, just feeling like classic JRPG dungeons with a puzzle or 2 in them. There's a mini boss at the end of every one of them, so be prepared. For the difficulty in bosses, I found the beginning of the game insanely hard in the first major dungeon due to the lack of MP items. Every Atlas game is like this. I could not finish the dungeon in one day unfortunately, but that didn't stop me. I still damn near platinumed the game, but I missed 2 fucking items. The bosses can be very difficult during the late game, but I didn't struggle as much before then. But I'm actually a pro JRPG strategist like Shikamaru, so you may find it difficult. Grinding is actually a necessity near the end, due to the huge difficulty spike that feels like an entire dungeon or 2 is scrapped. Just don't overlevel too much because the final boss was beaten in first try by me because I was like 5 to 6 levels above on accident. Kinda ruined it for me, but it is what it is. Overall, about 75% of the game is very moderately difficult, and then the end is just ball clenching, nut twisting, ass fucking. Just like in Persona, during your deadlines you can use your time twice a day on activities to increase your royal virtues and hang out with your followers, as well as other fun things such as Battle Coliseum challenges. Just beware on doing side dungeons because sometimes the travel time can take more than a day or 2 depending on your location. This art style is really nice to look at, besides the unimportant NPCs with super ugly PlayStation 2 graphics, like every other Persona game. There's always something going on the screen, whether it be the whispers you hear of being an outcast as an Elda in the city, or the animations when you go to a new area. I used all of these as my transition slides because they were just so fucking sick. Pretty much everywhere you look is eye candy. The character portraits have a really nice gradient and shading to them, especially for this lady goddess. The UI and old English font styles that are used are really stunning as well, and definitely make the game feel like old literature, like a manuscript from the Dark Ages. The language they use that is in the background of all of this is Esperanto, which is a universal language that was created by Ludwig L. Zamenhof in 1858 through 1917, this artificial language was created using parts of multiple different European languages in order to band together everyone in communication, so that everyone can understand each other. Which makes this the perfect language to accompany the themes of the utopian world of everyone coming together in this novel. I wish more games took this stylized approach. It really makes every second of the game worth playing. These enemy designs take an interesting approach, taking from a very private artist by the name of Botch, who made some rather interesting metaphoric art depictions of heaven, hell, and earth, with the piece named The Garden of Earthly Delights. One of the sickest art pieces I have ever seen. I remember finding this painting because of the BO2 zombie Easter egg back in middle school. These designs are ripped straight from the painting, mainly the hell side. Some are ripped from his other works such as St. John at Patmos or The Last Judgment. I believe saying the name of these creatures is a spoiler because I had a fun time finding out just the name in the beginning of the game. These creatures range from fairly bizarre to downright disturbing, and that's why I love it so much. If some of them seem familiar to you, then you probably have seen them in the Nightosphere from Adventure Time, or the painting in the Cabin of Transit in BO2, which has a lot of loose themes from the painting contained in the Easter egg. Really interesting stuff. I had a lot of fun researching these designs, and especially when I saw them for the first time, I was like, no fucking way they reference his work. This OST is pretty damn good, and nothing short of amazing. While I do think some of the themes start to blend together and have a little too many of the same motifs, the tracks that really shine are in these dungeons. While not all the songs contain vocals, the ones that do are super unique due to the language the vocals are singing in. Can you guess what language it is? It's not a made-up language just for the game like Nier or Stellar Blade. It's actually the Esperanto language. While it took me a few battles to get used to it, I quickly fell in love with this battle theme and the disadvantage theme, with lyrics such as Hoi, Hoi, Oha, Oh, Where you gone? Sorry you had to hear that. I tried searching up the words in the Esperanto dictionary to decipher these lyrics, but then I gave up. It sounds awesome though. The brass and loud Native American Iroquois like percussion hits hard, really feeling like you were a knight with your sword and shield going into siege warfare, not coming home for dinner. While the town and travel themes have more mellow horns and violin front pieces with a more uplifting and sophisticated orchestra. The event themes just feel like personas, but in an orchestral medieval format. I swear some of these are almost the exact same song. My only gripe is that in like 4 or 5 songs, there's the same lyrics from the Esperanto chants, just in a different song, and it's kind of just off-putting. And I was somewhat let down by the final boss theme. It's good, but it's not as epic as I thought it would be. Yes, it's triumphant, but it doesn't have a lot of lyrics to make it feel like metaphor, you know? Overall, I really like the soundtrack, and I'll literally be bumping it in the shower every day for the past 2 months. Now I'm going to start talking about the spoilers. This is where I'm going to go into the details of the plot, ending, and characters. If you want to click off this video and watch it when you beat the rest of the game, I would strongly advise you do so, because I am talking about everything. I will also be showing a lot of spoilers. And different people have different preferences on what a spoiler is. So here's your warning now. I'm telling you now, click off the video if you don't want to get spoiled. I am going to say a spoiler now. I'll just give you a few seconds to go ahead and, yeah. Anyways, how's your day going? Good, good. I can't believe Straw. Are they gone? Nothing happens to Straw. That fake out at the end got me though. Most of these are just going to be my thoughts on certain things in the narrative, because if not, this video would be 45 minutes long. Again, the best thing about this narrative is the fact that our main villain stays the main villain. There are multiple points where you think Forden or someone else will be forced into the spotlight, but no, Luis is literally peak. The entire month of September is peak. While it may be paced bad, everything that happens is super interesting. The twist that Luis faked his death, Fidelio's death, Basilo's recruitment, Rella's involvement, while really sad she had to be killed. Especially after that ball-clenching, nut-swinging, titty-twisting dragon boss battle. The foreshadowing of our MC being able to use the magic on the Gauntlet Runner, routing to the fact that he is the Prince's adventurer spirit, was a thought I never had. And while all the reveals happen around the same time, every single one of them is written so well, and just fantastic storytelling altogether. Alonso's entire follower story is the most interesting social link in all of Atlas. This shit got dark, with an execution right before the max rank, when you have to find out he didn't actually kill himself to prove a point. My jaw dropped to the floor. This is my favorite social link in the game. I had my doubts about Luis in the middle of the story, thinking he was secretly good and he did not place the curse. I was right on one thing, but then you realize he's literally the root of all evil, a creator of humans, forcing our primal ancestors to take over our bodies. Two ideologies of going about equality, fighting one that wants to build and prosper the world, and one that wants to destroy and dismantle the world through the teeth of the humans. Also, Luis not being horny anymore? What the f? Luis being taken over by a human for the first phase makes the boss battle kind of lame, especially the gimmick with the sacrifices. Then Luis breaks through and transforms again and he looks fucking wicked. I heard this boss was insanely hard, but me accidentally over-leveling and spamming charge Royal Sword and Peerless Stone Cleaver, this boss went down in like 5 full turns. Very disappointed by the lack of difficulty because of my own stupidity. Now let's talk about that fantastic ending. The journey has ended. We are now on the top of the world as king, set out to end this barbaric racism against our races, to bring equality to all without the bloodshed of Luis's ideals. We the king have appointed our best friends as the 6 parliaments to the king. Truly poetic. The sense of accomplishment you get when you go a year ahead in time to see what has changed. We've done a lot for his country, and it's only been a year, so nothing will be perfectly executed to our ideals' satisfaction. Sneaking around to learn the struggles and complaints that the people have with us. There is still doubt in the capital as we reign, and that is only realistic, as not everybody is going to magically like you, even if you save the world. To prove our power and justice as king, we decided to finish this story off with one more journey with our friends. I'm sure no one will notice you're gone. What a beautiful ending that is truly captures the essence of a responsible ruler who truly cares about bringing progressive change and not reversion, even though he left the office. Humans are the names of these disgusting creatures. It's fitting due to how the game portrays the fictional city to actually be evidence that it was the world in the past. An ancient city world with skyscrapers, guns, keyboards, and briefcases. Our world. The metaphor that our heroes were inspired by a utopian world that they think is fiction. And they were inspired to change the world, while we get inspired by the journey of their world, which is also fiction. For my closing thoughts, I'm just gonna go through some bullet points I have to summarize a lot of my thoughts to wrap up this review. Absolutely phenomenal JRPG. While not the best I have ever played, it had some of the best twists I've ever seen without being an asspull. Damn near perfect adventure to ride on for a long amount of playtime, and the story is well written with every twist and turn with some minor pacing issues. Every party member and social link is likable with a strong narrative for each person. Great accents for the voice acting that doesn't seem forced and feels very natural. The combat system is a refreshing take on the turn-based Persona system with room to refine. Grinding will be required for the late game. The music is absolutely unique with its inspiration of Esperanto and other European themes. Probably the best ending I have ever seen in the last few years. This game would absolutely be my game of the year if I actually finished it in 2024. That's all for my review, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, do leave a like and sub for more reviews and video essays on certain video game topics coming in the future. See ya!